everyone! How are we all today? Day 2 of our 2-day weekend. Now, there was a handful of you here yesterday. Who was here yesterday? Majority of you! Wonderful! So you know a bit of this stuff already. But those of you who weren't here, it's been a long and tough 2 years thanks to COVID. Our annual event last year was sadly cancelled. That's why this year we are back. Bigger and better than ever with our special double-header weekend. And in this case, day 2. We've got a smashing array of cast and crew over today, and shortly we'll introduce you to today's panel. Now for those of you, who has never been to an event before? Good couple of you today. I can tell you, you're in for a good treat. Those who have been before, yeah, a lot more hands. You know the routine, and you know you're going to have a great day too. Now, a few little general business things, ladies and gentlemen. So the panel, what we will be doing today, a bit different to yesterday. Once everyone's settled, we will bring a table up at each time to come through, get their photographs and autographs done, and we'll be doing it on a rotating basis. A few minute block of time, and we will keep to that for the day. Less of a panel is going to make it a lot easier for everybody to make sure everything gets done. If you have any questions, come see myself, Barry or Maria at any time. Also, if you hear anything like a fire alarm, please follow to what we say and keep an eye with us. We will make sure everyone gets out safe. Now time, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce you to the cast and crew of Prisoner. One last thing before that. Today is the 43rd anniversary of the very first episode going to air here in Melbourne. So happy birthday to Prisoner as well. Our first guest you never saw on screen. However, he was an integral part of the show as a camera operator for the entire 8-year run. He was also behind the scenes of the camera on a few other well-known Australian TV dramas such as Division 4 and Matlock Police. Please welcome our first guest, Barry Pullen. Our second guest was a much-loved director on the early years of the show, directing a total of 19 episodes. He also has the honour of directing Neighbour's most iconic episode, the famous marriage of Scott and Charlene, watched by over 20 million people in the UK. Please welcome Rod Hardy. Guest number 3 was both a goodie and a baddie on the show, appearing in 107 episodes. She murdered Bill Jackson, called a lot of people bastards, and had baby Elizabeth, whom she always put priority over. What about my baby? Please welcome Chrissy Latham actress Amanda Muddleton. Our next guest needs no introduction, just a memo. She was Wentworth's first governor. She appeared in 351 episodes, ran the prison firm but fair, and was so dedicated to the welfare of the women, she even risked her own life running back into the prison during the Great Fire. Please welcome Governor Erica Davo Davidson, Patsy King. Our next guest, she was a tart with a heart. Wentworth was like a holiday camp with a revolving door in and out. She was in and out so much. Be it helping Judy at Driscoll or rescuing her sister Sharon from a cult, she was always there to lend a helping hand. Appearing in 77 episodes, please welcome Helen Smart actress Caroline Gilman. fact for everyone, this is Caroline's first stand day. So make her feel welcome. Our last guest, and by certainly no means least, for today's panel, she is Prisoner's original top dog. She clicked her fingers and ruled over Wentworth for many years, fighting with fellow inmates and battling against the screws. She's one of the show's biggest stars. Heck, we even named today after her. Appearing in 375 episodes of the show, it's Queen Bee Smith herself. Please welcome our final guest, Val Lehman. Please give another hand and a round of applause, everyone, for our beautiful panel for today. Thank you, everyone. Now, before we start, we made a mention of this yesterday, and there were a handful of you that weren't here today, but we do need to make a special note. Barry, Maria, and myself would also like to take this moment to acknowledge a very special person who is not with us today. Trevor Medford was a massive fan of Prisoner, a loyal and dedicated fan who attended many Partners in Crime events for many, many years. Sadly, Trevor passed away last year, and we wanted to find a way to show how fond we were of him and honour him. So to honour him, we have had 2 photos placed on the VIP table wall here, where, had he actually been here today, he certainly would have been sitting on our VIP table. So if you wouldn't mind raising your hand sanitizer and glasses, because they forgot the glasses yesterday. So if you'd like to raise a toast to Trevor for us. To Trevor. Thank you, everyone.
In that it was set in a women's prison and they needed to be kept abreast of things. So I guess you could say I was the first stool pigeon / whistleblower pre-production known as Mr. Ray Lindsay. As it turns out, Ten's management's main concern was that they had been told that the majority of the cast would be theatre actors with very little television experience, and would they be capable of handling the studio / location schedule in the time allotted. But to give them their due, they did get clobbered in 77 with Hotel Story, 7 episodes commissioned, axed after 4 before even going to air due to episodes not getting finished. I must add that it had nothing to do with the cast at all, it was all set problems. I recall the first time I was introduced to Val Lehman around April or May 78. I was floor managing the Peter Couchman show and Val was a guest promoting ATVO's new drama, Prisoner. Out of commercial break, Peter intros one of the stars of the ATV's new drama, Miss Val Lehman. Val bursts onto set, draped in a fur coat, full-on presence, straight into an interview. Yeah, I play Bee Smith, known as Queen Bee. I'm the top dog. I run the prison. I let the screws think they do. I thought, I wonder if they are all going to be this full-on. After the interview, she came off set, over to me and said, was that all right? It wasn't too awful, was it? I was a bit nervous. I think that's when I thought, yeah, things are going to be just okay. As you are probably aware, I'm usually referred to as Uncle Ray or Uncle Rabies by most of the cast and crew. This has stuck with me throughout Prisoner and Neighbours and followed me till I retired. Even now, when I need to phone or Facebook people, I still get Uncle. It's who I am. It all started with Judy Bryant when the lovely Betty Bobbitt was cast into Prisoner. Initially, her character breakdown was listed as a no-nonsense, tough-as-nails taxi driver. Problem 1, Betty didn't drive. No problems, we got away with a stunty in a wig most of the time, and secondly, even when Betty acted tough, she had trouble hiding her smiling eyes or the little twitch at the corner of her mouth. And to try and get her to slap or rough somebody up took a bit of coaxing from me or our stunt coordinator. Don't get me wrong, she was a very good actress. She just did not have a mean streak at the start. I don't recall the exact circumstance or who the director was, but we were rehearsing a scene where she had to grab someone and stare them down. I think the director was trying to shoot her face onto the camera. Now, as I mentioned before, when Betty had to hold position, her eyes would often give her away. So I think I suggested if she did a little more side on camera, her eye line would be away from the lens and she could cheat her look more over to her shoulder and maybe hold it a little longer. Apparently it worked. The director was happy and Betty said, "Thank you. Thank you, Ray. That really helped me. You're my favourite uncle." Then to the studio in general, everybody should have an Uncle Ray. It's stuck ever since. My love and devotion to Val, Patsy and Caroline. Patsy doesn't know this, but I worked a couple of performances of Half a Sixpence at the Comedy in '67. And as for Amanda, my admiration of her went sky high after I saw her in Steaming at the same theatre twice. Oh, and love to Pussy. Oh, and love to Pussy Barry. He can explain. Whatever that means. Okay, now one more. And as for my mate Rod. Maria, would you please give Rod a huge hello? You can give him a hug too if you wish, on my behalf of course. If you could spare me a moment, I'll leave out the boring bits. Our television history goes back yonks. The first time I met Rod was in one of the rehearsal rooms at the Crawford Production Centre in Abbotsford, a huge complex that had originally been part of Carlton United Brewery. Rod was a trainee director and I was a B-grade floor manager starting out in my first TV drama. The year was 1970, the production Matlock Police. All scenes were rehearsed at Crawford's, then taped at ATV the next day, as the studio at the time did not have space to accommodate a separate rehearsal day. With the seal of approval from the Crawford hierarchy as a fully fledged director, I think young Rod did direct a few episodes of Matlock Police with me in tow. That was 1970 or 1971.
That's correct.
I was born. I was already there.
I was very young. Very young.
Our next encounter would be The Box in 1973, a groundbreaking little drama that featured high drama with nudity set in a television studio, if such a thing would ever occur now, but we did have some fun though. In 1976, we did The Bluestone Boys, set in the men's prison, except it was a comedy. I'm not sure if Rod was involved with Hotel Story in '77. He may have moved on from Crawford's by then. But when we got back together in '79, Rod was one of the original two directors on Prisoner, so for the next few years he would come and go as he pleased while I was locked up in the laundry and rec room with all those bloody girls. In brackets, he writes, no complaints. Then in 1986, we got together again for a couple of years, off and on, till he went to America to try his luck, and that's another story altogether. If you would indulge me just a tad more, I'm not sure if everybody present and all the fans would be aware, but unlike the publicity of our Australian actors all around the world get, and very deservedly in most cases, very little is said about some of our behind-the-scenes production people. Well, if anybody cares to check Rod Hardy's credit list, you will find a tally of American television movies, Hollywood movies, and American television productions with A-list actors that don't get mentioned very often. Just saying, well done, mate. Cheers.
Thank you. That's from him. Good man. He's a very good man.
Why isn't he here? Is he okay?
He's okay.
Yeah, he just couldn't make it today.
No.
What a shame.
Thank you for that, Ray. Thank you.
Yes.